Okay, so today has been a little wild on the Twitter side, but when is Twitter not crazy? This all started in July 26th of 2024, about when SAG-AFTRA started the strike. And if you guys don't know, SAG-AFTRA stands for the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, which is a labor union representing performers and media professionals in the entertainment industry. So VAs fall under that category, at least ones who work in the union. So this is important because some voice actors work with SAG-AFTRA and are contracted by them. Others are non-union workers and they're able to, voice characters in Genshin and not be, voiceless. But today the drama starts because of Kanich finally having a voice in 5.5. However, Kanich isn't the same voice actor. John Patnod, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, was the original voice of Kanich in 5.1 or 5.0, but in 5.1 he was voiceless up until 5.5 where he was replaced. Here's what his tweet says. If you've been playing the latest 5.5 update in Genshin Impact and are hearing Kanich speak for the first time in 6 months, it is not my voice. I have been recast. I've been withholding voiceover services during the SAG-AFTRA interactive strike because Hoyo Cognosphere won't offer AI protections in the form of a SAG interim agreement. They'd keep my character's dialogue silent for months, all the while I'd made the difficult decision to continue not going in until an interim agreement was signed, and this is ultimately why I was recast. Now, obviously, a recast is not what I wanted. I'd hoped that any progress behind the scenes would be made and I could come back safely, or that if recast auditions went out, my colleagues wouldn't read for them. Unfortunately, I was wrong. I absolutely adored playing Kanich. Genshin was my comfort game during the early parts of the pandemic, and it was a dream of mine to book a playable character. At the time, I didn't have an agent, I didn't live in LA or Los Angeles, or had any connections that would get me close, but 4 years later, I did it, and the messages I've received from you all saying how much my performance as Kanich meant to you made my heart swell. I would and can return if Hoyo invites me back and signs an interim. I stand by my choices regardless of the outcome. Also, the strike is still ongoing. Please don't believe disinformation on the internet. My best wishes to the cast and the production team. Thank you for everything. So, the pass that John is talking about here is part of the Taft-Hartley Act. It is a U.S. law. It is not a SAG-AFTRA policy. It is strictly United States and was passed in 1947. You could think of it as like a visitor's pass for non-union workers to work on union projects. The union project would tell the non-union actor they would have Taft-Hartley. They would be signed in for 30 days, and after that 30 days, they would have to request another Taft-Hartley to work another 30 days, and this could work up to 3 times before they are expected to join the union or lose their work. The problem with this is SAG-AFTRA does have a $3,000 buy-in, and there is a yearly fee to stay within that union, which is very important that a lot of non-union members cannot afford that, or they just simply don't want to. Alright, and now we're going to shift gears over to Jacob Takanashi, who is the new voice of Kanich starting at 5.5. His tweet reads as followed. I'm honored to join the English cast of Genshin Impact as the voice of Kanich. Taking up the mantle of Malipo is a privilege, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to carry the flame from the previous flame bearer John, who did an incredible job. Those are big shoes to fill, and I promise to give it my all out of respect for him, for Hoyoverse, and for you, the fans. Thank you to Diana for their amazing direction and for helping me navigate the intricacies of this incredible game, and to Side, who is the voice studio, Tokyo, and Hoyoverse for the honor of bringing Kanich to life. I'm deeply grateful for the privilege of entertaining you all. Keep in mind, he works with Side Tokyo, which means even though he is an English VA, he is based in Tokyo, and the SAG-AFTRA strike does not affect him personally. And then we have some people from the Genshin community tweeting out, Nathan Noakes, the voice of Auroron, congratulates him, welcome to the team. And then Kaylee Millis, who is the voice of Keqing in Genshin Impact, decided to say this is kind of diabolical. If you need the money, at least take the role uncredited. This comes off as an easy grab for clout and is not a good look. And then a few people come into his defense and say, I like Keqing, but when you whine about the new VA who had to take up the mantle, it does a disservice to her. She wouldn't act like how you're acting. Please do your lane and do actual VA work instead of coming after the VA. And then she's saying that Kaching would be doing the work to educate people and do what's best for the people. And then it seems like she did a little bit of damage control on her Twitter post right here, where she says, I always try to be understanding of a person's situation, who actually knows me and my characters know how well I listen and how much I care about other people, regardless of how much or how little a situation affects me personally. I know some people are paycheck to paycheck away from being unhoused. I know some people can't afford to lose a role for money or for other reasons. I can understand if someone can't be a perfect ally in this climate. I have my own personal views that don't always align 100%, but I have to draw lines somewhere. I see so much misdirected hate and anger, whether towards me, my colleagues, studios, unions, etc. But maybe, and this might be a crazy thought, billion-dollar corporations don't care about any of us, and making everyone else fight is only giving them more power. This is why doing so blatantly undermines what we're trying to fight for is horrible. I do not hate anyone involved, but it really hurts. How can I feel comfortable having someone as a colleague who would push me in front of a bus if it meant they would get ahead? I love working, I love acting, I love singing, I love interacting with fans and seeing their passion. I love having my own voice, both literally and figuratively. AI actively threatens all of that. So, to dissect this tweet, it seems sweet on the surface, but it's definitely damage control. She had not only attacked the new VA for Kaniche, but she had also tried saying that, oh, let's fight the billion-dollar corporation, and saying like, oh, she would, how could she trust a colleague who would push her in front of a bus when they are effectively doing that same thing to him. So Karina is the voice of Paimon, who also left a comment on Jacob's tweet, and they said, no, you're right, I am technically scabbing. I originally have this role, and technically I can still work this role. I am a disabled person, and this is the job that puts food on my table, as I actually record this role year round. But I didn't take this role from another person who is striking. I have this role, and I am stuck in it, because I have no other way to pay for my medical bills. But yes, technically I am a scab, and you're right, I don't deserve any praise right now. I don't deserve any of it. I deserve to be told off just like this actor, so please do. No one should look up to me. I'm trapped and a coward because I continue this job, because if not, I end up homeless. I don't say that because I deserve sympathy. I don't. The ones sticking to the picket line deserve all the praise, not me. I love voicing Paimon. I love it. I have been through so much that you guys will never truly understand, but I also know what I am, and I should not be given any applause for this. If I could feasibly stick the line with my fellow actors, I would. This job actually barely keeps me alive, but that doesn't mean that it makes it different. It is not a good thing to my fellow actor that I continue to work on this game. I have struggled with this since the strike started, so call me out. I deserve it if it means we get closer to making things. It sounds like they're trying to play victim here, when again they did leave a rude comment, and everybody has food they have to put on their table. It's just a bad, unprofessional look all around, and it basically is saying that the rules apply to you but not to me. And this was a tweet from a few months ago when the strike first started, when people were asking about why Paimon is still voiced, and this is what they had to say.
Explain this on Twitter, but I will explain it here. No, I did not go against the strike, and here is why. So, for those of you that don't know, there is a SAG strike going on right now that I am in full support of. Full support of this SAG strike, okay? One of the studios that is being struck against is one of the studios that records for Genshin Impact.
Keep in mind, they are talking about Formosa here.
There are technically two studios recording for Genshin Impact. I am the only actor that is recorded at the studio that is not struck against. Karina, why is that? Well,
Keep in mind that this was recorded in October 10th, and the other voice acting company is called Side, which we will get into later, but this is the official tweet. Side is the other voice acting company that is not struck by SAG-AFTRA, but Formosa, the one that Karina is going to talk about now, is struck by SAG-AFTRA.
well, remember last year when I had to come out publicly to say that I wasn't being paid for 7 months? That's why. Hoyoverse did the right thing, which was not only tell the other studio, you need to pay me, because it was a lot of money that they owed me, because it was 7 months of not being paid, but also Hoyo moved me to a completely different studio. So for the past year now, I have been the only actor in Genshin working at a separate studio, and that studio is not struck against. I am also FICOR, so I can work on non-union stuff that did not used to be SAG. Because if it was SAG before, and I still continued to use it, work on it, being non-union, then yes, that would be a SCAB project. But if it was non-union to begin with and always non-union and not at the studio that is currently being struck against, that's not scabbing. Let's also be clear, I am disabled.
Alright, so basically, they are saying that, that they are not scabbing, and one studio has the strike, and that's the studio that Genshin is trying to come to a deal with. Alright, and let's continue going. And the studio that I was talking about, Side, which is the one that did hire Jacob, the new voice of Kanichi, starting in 5.5. They are called Side. They are based in Tokyo, London, and Los Angeles. And they do not have a current strike against them. However, again, Formosa, the one that did not pay Karina, Paimon's VA, they do have a strike against SAG-AFTRA. And this is some of the games that Side has worked on. And, Outlaws is in there, Star Wars Outlaws, Silent Hill, Final Fantasy Rebirth, Warhammer, Diablo, Cyberpunk, Final Fantasy 16, Baldur's Gate. They do have a very good cast, and again, they do have a very talented set of individuals. One thing I would like to note is that SAG-AFTRA did actually sign a contract with Replica Studios to introduce groundbreaking AI voice agreements. They did. If they were completely against AI, I think the whole kind of argument crumbles, because it does seem like Genshin / MiHoYo does want to have AI protection. Again, look at other companies or other languages. The China, the JP, all the other languages are fine. It is just a SAG-AFTRA situation. And if we look deeper into it, as others who have done a lot of research on this, just out of curiosity, it seems like Hoyo is not a union, and under SAG-AFTRA rules, union voice actors are not allowed to be recording with Hoyo, as it breaks one of the rules that they have. However, they have turned a blind eye to it because they are mostly focused on movies and TVs, at least up until recently when the strike started. When the VAs got offered work, they didn't turn it down. Because Hoyo is not a union, the strike doesn't affect them at all. That is why they do not have a mark against them, again, from SAG-AFTRA. Again, it is just Formosa. Now with this strike and everything being in the limelight, the union actors can't willingly provide their services to a non-union project without getting blasted by both the union and their peers, which is what's happening, with the situation with Jacob here. The interim agreement that the VAs are talking about, it does have anti-AI stuff in it. You can look up the interim agreement with SAG-AFTRA. The main thing is that if Hoyo signed it, they're essentially saying that we will become a union, which would allow all the union VAs to pick their work back up without fear of being called scabs or traitors or being fined from the union. And again, there is that buy-in for SAG-AFTRA. It is at like minimum $3,000, and there is a yearly fee that you have to pay. So anyway, non-union VAs will have to sign Taft-Hartley contracts, which we did go over, which limit them to 3 projects and 30 days of work on said project, after which they basically have to become a union or try a fight with SAG for another waiver. Bearing in mind that signing up to SAG costs $3,000, and there are also yearly fees, which a lot of VAs cannot afford, and that some don't even want to. But there is a contract, and there are limits, and it does limit only union-based jobs. So the VAs are saying that there is, AI protection and all that stuff, but as we know here, SAG-AFTRA did sign with an AI thing, and if Hoyo does become a union, that would ruin a lot of other VAs who could potentially be out of a job, which it goes far, far deeper than just, we don't want our AI to get voiced, because again, in the interim, it does seem like Hoyo was signing that waiver, and I believe in China there actually is a waiver for AI protection, because again, all the other languages are perfectly fine in Hoyo. And one of the last things I do want to talk about is this thread. It seems like it has a lot of good points, and because I did previously read it, but here it is. I'm seeing a lot of discussions and speculation regarding the English VA strike and how it's affecting Honkai Star Rail. I really want to write something factual to clear things up regarding the strike. My husband and his father both work in the Los Angeles movie industry. My husband went to theater school and has many friends and classmates who are now English voice actors, some who have had voices in Hoyo games. I am not a legal representative of any company or organization. This post is entirely based on my husband's, his father, and his friends' experience working in the U.S. voice acting and film industry. It does not seek to represent any laws, regulation, or business employee contracts related to the industry. So, now we're going to get into some facts that we know of for sure. None of the Hoyo games are union based. It's pretty clear that none of the English dubbed Hoyo games, Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, ZZZ, are union. We do know that. They are not listed as a union either. Unionization is per project, aka not per company. The SAG-AFTRA website states that unionization is a project by project thing, not per company. That means one publisher can make union and non-union projects, in our case, games, at the same time, which is entirely decided at the discretion of the publisher. Recording studios do not usually decide on the unionization of a game. In foreign game dubbing, the publisher, aka Hoyo, would usually find an English-speaking casting directors, give them the casting documents, and ask them to find/audition suitable voice actors. The casting directors, who often own the recording studio and or are hired/attached to specific recording studios, would then ask the chosen voice actor to record at that studio or remotely record. These studios are not involved in deciding whether a game is unionized. Recording studios are not responsible for signing anything with SAG-AFTRA, and there is no such thing as Game X is struck because they're recording in Studio Y. The SAG-AFTRA strikes call for the cessation of work on all union games. The strike specifically calls for VAs to stop working on all union games. Hoyo, being non-union, are not involved in this strike, and here is the link that talks about it. There you go. It is a strike for notice to the members, and it has all the other stuff. It talks about what they can and can't work on, and there's a signature of the board of directors. This indicates that the strike is against all covered services under the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, which is what SAG-AFTRA stands for. Interactive Media Agreement, Interactive Localization Agreement, and Interactive Low Budget Agreement. SAG-AFTRA by default forbids union actors from working on non-union games. SAG-AFTRA has a global Rule 1 which indicates that no members of SAG-AFTRA can work on any project that has not signed the SAG-AFTRA contract. This applies on a global scale and does not exempt non-English, non-US projects. See details here. And now we're going to look at the global Rule 1, that no member shall render any services or make an agreement to perform services for any employer who has not executed a basic minimum agreement with the union, which is in full force and effective in any jurisdiction in which there is a SAG-AFTRA National Collective Bargaining Agreement in place. This provision applies worldwide. Simply put, a SAG-AFTRA member must always work under a union contract around this globe. So there is that. You should assume that Rule 1 applies until and unless an authorized representative SAG-AFTRA confirms that it does not. So there's that. Then we go over here. Only union games or those who pledge to join the union can sign the interim agreement, or in Hoyo's case, the Independent Interactive Localization Agreement. The current interim that a lot of other VAs have pointed out can be signed by games who are currently affected by the strike. Non-union games that sign the agreement are agreeing to the union terms as laid out in the agreement, and agreeing to a binding document from the union is effectively more or less saying, I'm willing to be union. Union games cannot hire non-union voice actors. See edit. This is not 100% true. Non-union VAs will not be removed immediately if Hoyo goes union. Hoyo can Taft-Hartley basically apply for an exemption for non-union actors to work in a union production. After that, it is approved, the non-union VA becomes eligible to join SAG-AFTRA. However, one actor can only get a max of 3 Taft-Hartleys in their life before they have to join the union, or they are banned from all future union projects. This is eventually why some non-union actors may not want to work with the union. Again, this is inaccurate. They did say the edit, but there is their SAG-AFTRA link there. Taken together, the above facts can mean SAG-AFTRA has banned all union voice actors from acting in Hoyo games effectively forever if the Hoyo games remain non-union. If the Hoyo games become union or sign the Independent Interactive Localization Agreement, Hoyo has to remove all English VAs who are currently non-union, or all those non-union VAs will have to join the SAG-AFTRA, which again, that joining fee is very expensive. Hoyo Games and recording studios are not the target of SAG-AFTRA's strike. In a legal sense, they are the collateral damage from the strike. Again, we do know that SIDE, the newest studio that Karina is in, as well as most of the returning Natlin cast, are a part of, because they are able to voice the game and not have, the strike or the bad blood, because they no longer work in Formosa, which slowly but surely, I can't find the exact tweet, but we do know that Hoyo is slowly waiting for a lot of the contracts to die out, but we'll see. We do know for a fact that Side has now become their new voice actor, though. Anyway, if acting in a non-union game is banned, why did Hoyo Games hire union actors to start with? SAG-AFTRA initially turned a blind eye to the union-non-union divide in video games, as the union is primarily focused on the well-being and unionization of movie, television, and radio actors. Many union voice actors would work on non-union anime, game dubbing, and no one batted an eye, even though it's in theory forbidden by the union. This has been ongoing for 30-odd years, so it makes sense that union actors, especially those who are not very famous, would have decided to act in Hoyo games. Also, the union may be a lot more strict with monitoring union actors appearing in non-union games during a general strike call. It's possibly why some union actors who previously were okay with acting in Hoyo games are refusing to during the strike. So I'm going to leave this in the comment. You guys could all, see this, but I think this is important. Can Hoyo be sued / punished for recasting striked actors? Again, we did see Kanichi getting replaced, and I get it. No labor laws state that as an employee is protected from being recast if they're refusing to work as part of a union's order to strike. The strike, however, is ordered against unionized games, not non-unionized games. VA striking against EA, Blizzard, Warner Brothers games are protected. VA striking against Hoyo to do so with zero legal grounds. Therefore, Hoyo is more or less justified in recasting them if they refuse to record, as the actors would be unilaterally refusing to work without a reasonable cause. And this is their opinion here. This is no longer any notes or stuff like that. From the look of it, it seems Hoyo really has a few realistic options. Wait out the strike, which is what they seem to be doing. Stop casting union VAs for new roles, such as Amphra's characters being all likely non-union, as well as having some non-NA roles. Because I do know the Fugu / New Ting Yoon VA is based in Tokyo. I know that they have also been using a lot of UK voice actors, like the voice of Yinlin is now in Genshin Impact. Female Rover voices Varessa, and I can't remember the third one, but we do have a third voice actress from Wuthering Waves is also now in voicing in Genshin as well. So it does seem like they are straying away. However, I just want to compile a list of information about all this that's happening. Obviously, I think it's very unprofessional that they are attacking another VA on Twitter very openly, and this isn't the Genshin PvP we wanted, and it's such a huge mess. I do get it. AI does suck. As someone who does their own art and stuff like that, AI does suck. I think it is shitty as hell, but it does seem like Hoyo had tried to come to an agreement, but SAG-AFTRA is sticking to their guns, and it sucks. But as someone who doesn't like to play in non-English, I know for me it has personally ruined my enjoyment of Natlin, and I get it. My hearts go out to the VAs who are during the strike, but it's not just about AI protection. It is about asking Hoyo to become a union, and that is far deeper than the AI thing, as we saw earlier. I get it. It sucks, but at the same time, it is becoming a issue in the game, and there's not much else that they could do. It's been going on since July of 2024, and as of the recording of this video, it is now March 27th. So, this is where we're at. Nothing seems to be budging, and it looks like people are likely going to start getting recasted, and that's it. I mean, Side is their new studio, as we saw, so, we'll see. Anyway, bye guys.